Welcome to SF Heal. This is Dr. Lance Von Stade. I'm here today with Hailey Lott, meditation guru from what I hear on the streets, yogi, ex-athlete, current facilitator of the healing process for people in San Francisco and beyond through some of her services online. I met Hailey through a friend of mine, Emily, and she introduced us, and immediately, along with her introduction, gave me some stories about who she was, started looking her up, and she's an inspiring person. And the purpose of this show is to connect the healthcare community with more of itself so that we can express ourselves, learn more about what services exist and what are the people that are here in San Francisco particularly that are helping to meet the needs of the community that we're serving. And Hailey is out there doing it through meditations and women's circles, and you're serving at a high level. So I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude for you taking the time to be here. And we also finished our other episode today, so I got to dive pretty deep into some cool topics with you guys. And I'm excited to just continue the journey on in this way.
I'm excited too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here with you and speak with you about all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So for the audience who may just be discovering you, because as soon as your name was here, they probably Googled you, and now they have your Wikipedia page and all this stuff. Like, what are you doing in the world now? And what's a little bit about your background that builds some context to what you're passionate about?
So now I'm a breath and sound facilitator. So I started my meditation journey when I was a kid. My mom forced our family to meditate. And at the time, it felt like punishment. And even the yoga, we were just like, so uncomfortable. We didn't want to be there. And then when I got to college is when I really started to lean into the practice of meditation because it gave me clarity. It gave me confidence. It gave me a direction to go. And when I didn't feel like I knew where I wanted to go. And then that's when I started my business. And when I first started teaching meditation, it was to corporate companies. Then I started working with athletes just because of my family and what I was raised with. My dad was an athlete. And so I started working with athletes about, focusing on peak performance, and peak performance meditation became like a thing that I would teach. And then ultimately I realized that, we're all looking for peak performance in every single area of your life, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a mom, you're a chiropractor, we're all looking for peak performance. And so there was always something that just, I felt like I wasn't doing something, wasn't aligned. And so that's when I shifted to working with just women, and then that's when I really felt an opening in myself, and I started the monthly women's circles, and I've been trained in, I've done 500 hours for yoga, I've done breathwork facilitation training, I've done sound training, my first study, though, that I did with meditation was I studied with a monk who studied under Thich Nhat Hanh in the Plum Village in France. He left France, came here, now lives in the Presidio, and is studying acupuncture. And so we connected through our acupuncturist, and that's where I got most of my studying from. And then always being a student of just asking anyone I could, interviewing as many people as I could about their journeys with meditation, people that have done it, for many years before me. So I guess that's kind of like the short-ish version of where I am today.
Yeah. I imagine there's some ups and downs and ins and outs and spirals and all that stuff. And I have found that most people who are drawn to active meditation are not just randomly there. They're like, there's a lot going on in life. And I heard that this meditation thing is really helpful for helping me to gather it all into a basket that I can carry, contain it. And I'd love to hear more about how you have seen meditation serving the particular needs of the people you're working with. We personally, my background is mostly women's health. I was telling you before the show, I've worked with USA women's water polo and the Olympic team women's judo, and it was in college women's water polo and women's track and field. And my wife's had 2 babies, and now I'm Webster certified for working with pregnant women as a chiropractor, and we have a family practice. So I'm really interested in supporting women, humans of all shapes, sizes, and colors, but we want in our practice to make sure we're understanding what are the needs of the women that are in San Francisco. And particularly when 90+% of the women who come in to our practice are marking anxiety on their form. They're not doing that on accident. There is a theme in our culture here, and I think it is broader than just San Francisco. But from your unique perspective, doing sound healing and breath work and cultivating spaces where communities gather to endeavor into the present moment, what needs are you seeing? What's the stories that you're hearing, and how is your particular experience that you're facilitating helping that?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that question is remembering who you are. So to me, that is the purpose of meditation, is to everyone that practices, to have them be able to remember who they are, which is a space of unconditional love, of unconditional joy, of freedom, of peace. And what I see in San Francisco, because, we're driving, we're pushing forward, we're doing all the time, is I have a lot of women that come in with anxiety, and really just like they feel like they have to do all this stuff. They're pulled in so many directions, but it's so hard for them to be able to create this space to just be with them. And that's like uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable place for them to be. So I love the women's circles because it's allowing them to make the choice to create the space for themselves. And then when they get there, then they can really sit into that and sit into community, because that's another thing that I think is, it might not just be a San Francisco thing. Now it's kind of bigger than that. But isolation is that when we go through these difficult moments, we're alone in our apartment and we're just like, oh my gosh, like no one else is getting it. And then as soon as we get together in community, whether it's even just two people or larger than that, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going through the exact same thing. And this feels so much better that I have someone else with me. So I think that I see a lot of people, they want the space. They want to remember who they are. They want to feel themselves. They want to know their heart, but they don't always know where to start. And I love that apps are becoming a thing. It's great. And there's nothing like practicing with other people. I practice every day on my own at home, and it's amazing and wonderful and fulfilling. But when I can be in community and feel the energy of 30 women all practicing with the same intention, I mean, it's like the power of the collective, as I always say. Like when we have one intention and we together, no matter where you are in the world, if you can get with someone and it's magnified because you're all using that energy together to create something bigger than you could on your own.
I think of an orchestra. Like all the instruments might be unique and make different sounds, but when they're all in alignment, it can just create such a mind-shattering experience. Takes your breath away. Not to use that as a reference. And a couple things that you mentioned are helping someone find more of themselves, connect to more of themselves, that individual practice, and the benefit of doing it individually is great. And we've never had more resources than now to do it. Just to bring a concept from our previous talk, like we always have our breath, even before the apps were there. Like we have the breath that we can connect to. But it does seem to be harder and harder now to connect with other people. One of the things I'm hearing a lot from people is it's hard to make friends in San Francisco, or it's hard to make friends as an adult. It's hard to build community because people are so transient here, and it's a pressure cooker here. It's the most expensive city in the country right now to live in. And so people are shuffling to the next house that makes their budget work, or their commute better, or their family's expanding and they grow out of the city, or whatever it is. But can you speak to the need for community and how that might carry over after a breathwork session, and the importance of, yes, doing the individual practice, coming and having experiences together as a group, but also that need that people have for community, and what can we be doing as healthcare facilitators or just people in this place to help cultivate that?
Yeah. I think for me, it comes back to my own journey of healing. When we first started our podcast, the idea, I was traveling alone, and what I was using to support myself was listening to books on tape and listening to things through my phone, because I was going through kind of, a challenging time, and that gave me so much support. And so we started the podcast, and then we were like, oh, community. And then we got to work with some people face to face, but a lot of it is online. And I do think that there's so much value. I have online courses and things that I've done myself. I've taken practices and studied online. But for me, living in San Francisco, I started to notice like this feeling of loneliness that was kind of coming up. And also that isolation piece of like, in my mind, I was thinking that I was the only person going through this thing. Yet when I could just meet with my friends, so I started doing just women's nights at my house. And then, I would bring my friends together and I would have like a little activity that we would do. And that came from actually Brene Brown, of how she talks about play. Yeah. And so we would do like a watercolor night, or we would do a sound meditation night, or little things like that. And it just felt so good. It just felt so good for me personally, I can't explain it any other way that it just felt really good. Yeah. And then I actually went on a silent retreat, and that's where I got a very big, information. I just heard information that was like, you need to do women's circles. And so that's kind of the birthing of it. And it's been beautiful and scary at times, and like, oh my gosh, is this all going to work out? But every time it's just the best thing ever, and we all are so fulfilled. And I think that there's a temptation for us to put everything online and do all these things, which like you can do both, and like put the things online, do the meditations online. If you're, a wellness practitioner, do the things online, and give someone an opportunity to be able to see you in person, to connect with you in that way, because there's flexibility in being a practitioner and being all online. You can travel the world, but most of the practitioners I know, or that I really respect, they have the online piece, but they do these in-person things because they feel good. They feel good. The community feels good. And I think there's just power in that in-person connection when so much of our world has been moving to the online space. Yeah.
And I think you saying like create something where they can see you in person. And I also think part of the power of what you're doing is you're creating a space where they are also being seen in person. Because we could look up a TED Talk, but going to the TED Talk, even that, you could go to the TED Talk in person and see the person speak in person. But when I went once, it was actually the conversation with the person sitting next to me that made it more real. Yeah. Like, otherwise, it was just like a 3D version of my YouTube. It was like, there's a person sitting next to me with a unique experience. And now all of us, it makes me rethink about and have empathy for the other people and why they are coming to this experience. And having done a lot of breathwork personally, both as a facilitator and as a participant, there is a distinction between that role. And it's, I think one of the challenges, and I'm curious how your experience of it is, that role of everyone coming to see the person who's running the session and being the human running the session or facilitating the event. How do you get seen as a person, not just as the leader, which is what I think most people put people who are facilitating. I distinguish between leader and facilitator because I'm trying to facilitate an event or a space, cultivate a space, bring people together and kind of get out of the way and let it naturally occur. And inherently people come and they're looking for answers, and often the questions get directed toward the leader. And I'm wondering, are you also getting your needs met in your women's circles, or do you have to also create separate experiences? And the reason I ask this as for the people who are also going, are they getting their needs met there, and are they also creating spaces in their life where they're helping others in their life to do that? How do we continue to plant seeds and spread this?
I love when you said to be seen too. Because I think that that's such a big part of the work is, yes, you can see all of these things, but are you feeling seen too? For me, I am so fulfilled by the women's circles. It's just like the best thing ever for me, because to see, a lot of my mom will come, my sister will come, my friends will come, and then it's people that I've never met before, and all of us are just best friends and just sharing vulnerably. So I cry every time, and I just am filled with so much gratitude. And I also do a lot of stuff on my own because there is some roles that you're doing of like hosting, like you said, facilitating, and making sure that everything's going according to the plan that you like it to go. Of course, nothing's really does, but holding space. There's this nice. It feels good to receive without holding space. Yeah. So I do my own classes at Open, which is a studio I teach at. So I'm there basically every Thursday for sure. Yeah. And now I'm starting to be able to be there Tuesday night so I can receive as well. And then I'm always at, other places around the city being able to receive too.
Cool. Love that. A lot of people who will watch this will be healthcare providers in San Francisco. And I'm fortunate to be connected with someone who I haven't received her permission to say her name publicly yet because of my role in her life. But she's world renowned in the subject of burnout. And she's done decades of research, and she just talks about that giving mentality without the receiving, and how we all know this concept conceptually, but putting it into practice can be hard because we care so much about the people that we're serving. We give and give and give, and our cup just empties and empties and empties. And we might think, and I've fallen into this trap of, I'm doing breath work, I'm facilitating community, I'm part of this. Yeah. Not realizing I'm also carrying some of the tension of holding the space, like holding, because I care so much. And sometimes I would leave and have like this holding space hangover of like, oh man, it was so fulfilling. It was an amazing weekend. Oh my God, just unbelievable. Why do I feel so tired? And recuperating from that and finding the spaces where we are filling our own cup, whether that is seeking out other healthcare facilitators who can be helping us to reconnect with ourselves. I mentioned, I just hired a personal trainer. I know what to do, but I don't want to have to know what to do. I just want to let go and be seen for my authenticity, and to have the coaching and that rookie mindset. So I really appreciate you taking the time to take care of yourself too, because we are resources for people. And if we're not getting filled up, then those resources start to diminish and the light starts to drop, and everyone's in their shadows and not knowing where to go for the light.
And I think oftentimes it comes from the shadow or the contrast, whenever I threw my back out, and that was, I got sick, I threw my back out, and my body was telling me, reminding me with this contrast in my life, you need to take care of yourself, you need to create space, you need to do all these things. And I had to have that contrast in my life to really wake me up. And we always experience contrast, and it is a beautiful reminder to check in and notice, hear, listen, what is it that I need? How can I create more space? What would that look like? And it just was really great to have that happen, because then I got to come to you, get myself kind of back aligned, back on this health journey, to remind myself of this is actually what needs to happen first before I can give to other people. I need to, because we all can give from that empty cup, but it's so much more fulfilling, and we can give better, we can give more, we can give deeper, I think, when our cup is full. It's just so much just juicier that way.
The juice. When the juice is just overflowing.
Yeah.
Just trying to get some. Love that.
Me too.
All about it. One of the things I'm hoping to accomplish with this is for the people who are watching to also get each of our own applications of our own expertise. So how do you take care of yourself? You meditate. Do you have a movement practice? Are there other services or people that you want to kind of introduce to the world that you have found really valuable? I don't know if they're like surf spots where you're like, you don't want to tell too many people about them because then you can get an appointment. But you want to also introduce them to people. You know?
I know that. And I'm such a promoter that there's certain people that I love for all my things. I love you. I tell everyone about you. But a lot of people that I tell, they're like, oh, yeah, I've already been seeing him. I'm like, okay. As a chiropractor and other things, a chiropractor extraordinaire. I do have a healer, but she practices Reiki. She uses tuning forks. Her name is Natasha, and her company is called Reikiance. And so she's down actually in Sunnyvale. But she also does remote sessions. Okay. So her website is reikiance.com. And I always feel like when I worked with her for an hour-long session, the first time it was like, oh my gosh, it felt like I had gone through 15 years of therapy after leaving her. And it was just that feeling of remembering who I am. This is my space. I'm grounded. I'm infinite. I'm divine. I'm love. That's who I actually am all the time. I'm just a walking open heart if I want to be. And she really reminds me of that. And then Open, like I said, the meditation studio that I work for, they have an amazing community that they really foster and cherish. And it's just, all different people. It's, people from the tech world and young and old and all these different people. But the connection that you feel, especially when you are able to open up through your breath and receive sound, it's just amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that those are my people.
Great.
Yeah.
And what do you have available for people that they could reach out either to pick your brain or experience one of your women's circles in San Francisco or beyond? Yeah. How do people find you?
On my website is HaileyLott.com, and I have all my things up there. I do a weekly breath and sound class at Open on Sundays at 6. I do monthly women's circles. It's always the first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. It's in Potrero Hill. And I will be doing online classes as well, online community classes, because it's in-person is it. And I have a lot of people that are like, okay, I live all the way in New York. I still want to be able to practice. So I'm going to be doing online monthly classes as well. And all of that will be able to, you can find that all on my website.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. If you were to say what you think the people of San Francisco or the world at large needs right now, like what is you listening to some of your guys' episodes, it's like, if you could give this gift, what would be the gift? What's the thing of your whole life experience, professionally, personally, that you just wish you could download into someone and let them use that in their life? What would that be?
Well, what's bursting out of me right now is just love. I think that it's like, I think some people could totally think that's so cheesy, but to me, it's just not. Because I truly believe that if everyone could understand how deep that this infinite source of love that they have within them is, like, we would be fulfilled. Like, it just, the first time I experienced that within myself, I couldn't describe it. It was just the most beautiful feeling. And I believe that if every single person could tap into just even a little bit of it, just even for a second, for just a little, that could shift how they show up in every area of their life, in every relationship. If we could all open up to just spreading a little bit more love and feeling into our love and just letting it just pour out of us, because that's what it wants to do. It wants to just move through us and just shine and sparkle all over us. Everything would be just a little bit better and a little bit more free. And I know that that's kind of like a big thing, but I think it's as simple as just closing your eyes for just a second and listening to your breath and allowing yourself to feel it. I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves the space to just notice and feel and tap into it.
Would you be willing to lead a 1-minute
meditation
for this? Because just watching what happened right now, like you just came to life and I'm feeling it. And I could also imagine someone who's like sitting on the 80 listening to this. and being like, yeah, I'll feel love. But
Mhm.
I also think there's an opportunity for them to feel it deeper than they have in the past. And I know you have the skills to be able to help push them a little into their comfort zone,
Mhm.
that love comfort zone, you know, if you're willing to.
Yeah.
I'd love for that.
Yes, I would love to. For those of you that are listening that can close your eyes. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road and keep yourself safe. No matter where you are or what you're doing, I'll ask you just to bring your focus into your breath. And just notice how it feels. The quality of your breath in this moment, in this new moment, where it's living. And seeing if you could, instead of pushing or pulling on the breath, seeing if you can meet the breath with ease, with curiosity, with exploration, with compassion, with kindness. Just allowing the breath to move through you. Noticing where you can feel it. Noticing where it can expand, even in just a few seconds of bringing your focus into the breath, what space it can create for you. Checking in with your body, seeing if there's any areas that you can welcome in your breath. Maybe softening through the jaw, the muscles around your eyes, maybe your neck, your shoulders. Allowing yourself just to melt a little bit. And then in this space, I'll ask you to welcome in a resource. And that's something that brings you joy easily, something that's easy to love, whether that's a person, maybe it's a place that you go to, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's an animal. But just welcome that resource into your mind now. Bring it to your mind and maybe think about why you love this thing, why this brings you joy, why this brings you ease and comfort, how it makes you feel. And finding a deep sense of gratitude for this resource. Allow yourself to breathe that feeling in. See if you can move that feeling through your body as you breathe a little bit deeper. Breathing in that sense of love, of kindness, of joy, of peace. Three more breaths, just like that. Anchoring yourself into this feeling, into this space. And then we'll take one cleansing breath together, filling up as deep as you can, breathing into your own energy, and then holding this breath at the very, very top of your inhale. Allow the constriction to build in your chest, holding on to this emotion, breathing in a little bit more air. And then let it go with the big sigh. And then when you're ready, you can start wiggling the fingers and wiggling the toes. Gently fluttering the eyes open and coming back into the room and into the space. I think that may have been longer than a minute, but
that was gorgeous.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's exactly what I needed.
Good.
Tapping into my resource, realizing how much my kids are a resource for me that I can connect to and anchor to when I'm feeling a little tense, feeling love. You know, sometimes people might feel that emotion and not realize that that's love. And thank you for helping people connect to that.
Yeah, of course.
And,
thank you for letting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone out there listening, I hope that was enjoyable for you. I hope you find what you're looking for. And if you're looking for Hailey Lott, we'll make sure there's some show notes and correct spellings of Hailey and Lott. And Have a great day. Thanks
Thank
for being here.
you. That was awesome.